Hello, and thank you for joining me today for Conversations with Christie. Today, we are here to talk about your purpose in life. The big question is, do you feel like you're fulfilling your purpose in life, or do you feel like you are just waking up every day doing whatever it takes to get through the day, just to wake up and do it all over again? Or are you maybe somewhere in between, like you're fulfilling your life's purpose, but it's every day is kind of a struggle to kind of figure out how to bring it all together, right? You know you're doing something important, but you don't really see what impact it's having, and it's really easy to feel rejected and discouraged, and you go through these ups and downs of, I know I'm doing something important, but I just, like the blinders are on, or like you're kind of like in a daze or a fog, and like maybe the next day you feel disconnected and you're not sure that what you're doing is actually helping, right? You're doing what you are supposed to do, but is it actually creating the results in life or in the world that you're hoping it's creating? So I want to talk to you today about something that I am calling the Dharma Cycle. Now, first of all, let's talk about what Dharma is. And I'm going to read to you from Wikipedia, full disclosure. The meaning of the word Dharma depends on the context, and its meaning has evolved as ideas of Hinduism have developed throughout history. In earliest texts and ancient myths of Hinduism, Dharma meant cosmic law, the rules that created the universe from chaos as well as rituals. And in the later Vedas, which are the texts that yogic principles are based out of, the meaning became refined, richer, and more complex, and the word was applied to diverse contexts. And in those certain contexts, Dharma designates human behaviors considered necessary for order of things in the universe. Principles that prevent chaos, behaviors and actions necessary to all life in nature, society, family, and as well as at the individual level. Dharma encompasses ideas such as duty, rights, character, vocation, religion, customs, and all behavior considered appropriate, correct, or morally upright. And for further context, the word Varnasam Dharma is often used in its place, defined as Dharma specifically related to the stage of life one is in. The concept is believed to have a transtemporal validity. I don't know what that means. And the antonym of Dharma is adharma, meaning that which is not Dharma. It implies many ideas, but it means that which is against nature, immoral, unethical, wrong, or unlawful. So, what does all of that really mean? If we are to really distill it down, Dharma is that which unfolds to create order from the chaos. It is the purpose that we have in this life. In a lot of yoga classes or yogic context or philosophy, to really distill it down, Dharma is your purpose in life. It is the role you are meant to fulfill that sustains the natural order of all things in life. So when we look at astrology, we talk about the north and the south nodes, which are just mathematical points on the ellipsis of the moon's revolution around the planet. And it's basically where the sun, the moon, and the earth come into direct alignment, and that's when we have eclipses, right? Where the moon will block the sun, or the earth will block the moon, creating like the lunar eclipse on the full moon, or the solar eclipse on the new moon, when the moon comes directly between the earth and the sun. So those mathematical points, when that perfect alignment hits, we have the north node and the south node. The south node is the energy of which that we're born into in this life. Now, if you believe in past lives, this is all the karma that you've been born into this life from the result of every other past life that you've lived to this point. If you don't believe in past lives, it can just be all of the the karma that you're born into from your ancestry, what you've been born into from the long line of ancestors that have given birth to you in this point in time, right? And even in the past life context, our ancestry is still a part of that. But if you don't believe in past lives, you can just really focus on your family lineage and everything that all of the ancestors that have endured and survived to bring you to life. Which, when you really think about how many people had to live and survive in order for you to be born into this life, that alone is kind of a mind-blowing concept, right? And studies, scientific studies, have proven how we are born with not just the physical DNA, but memories as well. Right? There was some lab rats where they would electrocute them and give them squirt lavender into the air. And I'm summarizing this study, so I might be not getting all of the points completely accurate. But what they found was that the descendants of that rat who was electrocuted and given the scent of lavender, whenever they would smell lavender, would immediately go into a fear response without even having been electrocuted, right? Thus proving that we are born with memories. We inherit memories and fears from our ancestors, right? And this is also a concept in Chinese medicine. I can't remember the name of it. But the idea is we're born with at least 3 generations of memories and karma in this lifetime, which is a really fascinating concept. So on the flip end of the south node of our karma, what we're born into, is the north node. And the north node, which it's the tail of the dragon and the head of the dragon, which is another mythological metaphor that we'll have to get into another time. But the head of the dragon, our Dharma, the north node, represents everything that we are supposed to fulfill in this lifetime, right? And in astrology, there's always a duality. So the north node and the south node are always direct opposite to each other. So what we're born into and what we experience through the course of our life, we're meant to transmute and fulfill our Dharma and fulfill our purpose, right? So, for example, Aries is the self and Libra is relationships. So if the south node is in Aries, we are born into the karma of being very selfish, and our Dharma is to learn how to transmute that and to be selfless and to be of service of others. Right? Just a very simple way to explain that. And so it's I think it's such a beautiful context. It's such a beautiful way of looking at things, right? We're born into this life and we are meant to fulfill certain obligations. We are meant to transmute the energies to create something more and better. And I think that's just really beautiful, right? Like I saw this quote yesterday. I'll have to go find it. But we are no longer living in the state of survival. You know, our society has evolved with technology to be able to get to this place of total abundance, right? And there is so much opportunity here for us to heal that fight or flight response, and instead to step deeply into our soul's purpose in a way that previous generations really have just not had the option to available to them. And so now we are in this place of deep healing, right? We have to heal all of that fight or flight and trauma response so that as we bear children and they take over the earth, we can help grow and evolve society from fight or flight and fear and war and trauma to that of complete and total acceptance of ourselves and of others, and create a world that is full of peace and love, right? And I know that sounds like, oh my God, you're so idealistic, but, you know, I'm just through my own meditations have come to this conclusion, and just from listening to other people who, modern philosophers and religious, leaders and gurus, there is this sense that we can, as humans, get there, right? But what does it take to get there, is really the question, right? And that brings us back into that concept of like, what is your purpose in life? What is your dharma? What is the role that you are meant to fulfill? And, there's so much that we can talk about when it comes to this subject, but I want to talk about something that I'm calling the Dharma Cycle, right? Part of healing is the ability to be able to receive the gifts of other people, right? Back when we needed to live in a tribe to survive, everybody in the tribe had a role to fulfill. Someone would go grow the food, someone would harvest the food, someone would prepare the food, someone would go hunt the animals, someone would butcher the animals, and someone would cook the animals, and someone else would take the skins and the hides to make their teepees or their clothing, right? Or their buckets and whatever it was. Everybody had a role to fulfill. Someone would stay with the children while the other parents would go work in the fields once we had agriculture, right? Someone would go fell the trees, and someone would then build the house, right? And while those people were building the houses, someone else would be cooking the food that someone else had grown or killed, right? Everybody had a role to fulfill, and these different roles ensured the survival of the tribe as a whole. Can you imagine if you had to grow your own food, build your own house, raise your own children all by yourself? Like, nothing would really get accomplished, right? You would just be in this constant state of survival. And that's why, like, life on the prairie, when the settlers came, it was kind of difficult, right? Because they refused to listen from the Native Americans, and they would just build their homesteads and have lots of children. And even in that way, this is why there was such an focus on having large families, because then you would create your own self-sustaining unit. People broke away from the tribe and created their own self-sustaining units. Right, and you can see this in many contexts, in many cultures, how this is, and it shows up in different ways. I'm just kind of reflecting on our history here in America. So you have the tribe. Let's go back to that basic concept. You have the tribe, and everybody has a particular role to fill, right? The medicine woman would go collect her herbs and treat the sick and massage the injured, right? But someone would make her food, because if she had to make her own food, she wouldn't have time to collect the herbs to help heal people, right? That would then go out and build the homes. Everybody had a role to fulfill. It was a self-sustaining system. Of course, then you have people who have differentiating roles as a result of this. And then you have to create a barter system, right? And this is where money comes from, because, someone could make 30 vases, for example, or buckets or jars or whatever you want to call them. They don't need 30 vases, buckets, or jars, but they do need the rice to fill those jars. But because they're making their vases and jars all day, they don't have time to go get rice. So then they would barter their vases for the rice. But then what happens if you have something that you want from someone else, but there's not a direct relationship to barter for it, because maybe they don't want what you have, but you want what they have. So then do you create like a three-way barter system? You create something that allows you to exchange these goods or these services. And this is where the concept of money comes in. In many cultures throughout all of history, you can find evidence of it for thousands of years had some form of currency or exchange so that they could represent the value of what they created and then take that and exchange it for something else, right? If there was not a direct relationship. But everybody still has a purpose to fulfill, even if it doesn't seem like it's important, right? Like maybe that person creating buttons to go on your shirt, it doesn't feel as important as someone building a house, but it's no less important because without those buttons, your shirt can't close and you can't protect yourself from sunburn from building those houses, right? And again, I'm creating very simple examples here just to paint a picture. Okay, so what does this have to do with us now? So we had the tribe, people break away from the tribe, they create their own self-sustaining units, but now we have become so individualized, and through technology we have this false sense of individuality that we can live alone, but really, like, you can't really live alone because you live in a house that you didn't build, you drive a car that you didn't build, you eat food that you didn't grow, right? Maybe you have a job coding or managing people in an office and you live alone, but you're not really alone. People need people to survive, right? Everything that you need to make your life continue has been produced by somebody else. And the work that you do is valuable and provides someone else with something that they need to be able to survive and do the work that they do. And now that we have technology, we no longer need to struggle for this. These things just exist. There's an overabundance of things, if you ask me, but that's a conversation for another time. But my point is this. Everybody has a role to fulfill. And if you think that you are living alone and doing it all on your own, you're really not. That is oh God, why can't I think of the word? It's a mirage, right? For lack of a better word. It's an illusion. There it is. It's an illusion. You're not living alone. But we can live in this illusion and feel alone and feel disconnected from people, which is really unfortunate. Yeah. And as a result, we kind of start to reject other people and we reject what it is that people can do for us because we are so caught up in this, I must do it on my own, right? And this ties back into another concept that I have yet to talk about called the warrior wound, which will be a future conversation. But when we realize that we really do need other people and we allow ourselves to receive the help of other people, whether it's someone walking your dog for you or receiving a massage or someone doing your cooking for you, or even the simple act of going to a restaurant and allowing yourself to be served, right? Maybe seeing a therapist, going to see a doctor, the mechanic, right? So everybody has a job that they do that is to be of service to everybody else, right? From that simple tribal structure to our advanced, overly complicated system today, our purpose in life is to be of service to others. It just might not look or feel like that in the moment because we live in this illusion of separatism, of individualism, that you can just do it all alone. But really, everything that you're doing is the result of someone else's being able to do something else as well, right? It's like baking a cake, right? You can just have the wheat in the field, but you have to then harvest it and grind it down and cure it to make flour, and you do that with the sugar, and you do that with the milk, and then you take all of these things that were simple substances and you blend it all together and you bake it to make a cake. Our society is now like a cake. Before we had simple, streamlined things. You grow the food, you cook the food, you build the house, to now we have cakes. There has to be metal unearthed and turned into material to build a car. even a pencil, right? The graphite has to be mined, the wood has to be taken down, and then we combine these materials and we create a pencil. Civilization exists in this state of being a cake, essentially, right? There's so many simple processes that have been layered on top of each other to create complex processes. And so now, are you the one who is the beginning of the cake? Are you the one who goes and harvests the wheat? Or are you the end result where you get to decorate the cake? You get to take all the materials that someone else has created and use it to decorate and make these gorgeous works of art, right? So why is this so important? Because in order to fulfill our Dharma and able to make peace with the fact that we all are here to be of service to another, we need to allow ourselves to first receive the services of others, right? And this is the cycle of Dharma. If the person whose purpose is to harvest the wheat to grind into the flour, their purpose cannot be fulfilled if someone is not buying the flour to then go make a cake. And then that cake cannot be made to use to celebrate someone else's birthday, right? And so it becomes a cycle of Dharma where my purpose is to, for me on a personal level, inspire people to understand what it is they are here to do so that they can go do that thing to be of service to other people. But then they also have to receive the services of other people, right? Thinking of self-care. And I hope I'm not overcomplicating this, and I hope I'm keeping on track with my point and you're following along. Self-care can look like allowing yourself to receive a massage. If you don't allow yourself to receive your massage to ease your achy bones and body, the massage therapist cannot fulfill their Dharma, and you walk around achy and grumpy. But if you allow yourself to receive, you are allowing that massage therapist to fulfill their Dharma of being of service to you. You feel better, and then you are able to fulfill your purpose of harvesting the wheat so that someone can eventually go make a cake, right? So when we allow ourselves to receive the services of others in the name of self-care, not only are we taking care of ourselves, we're allowing that other person to fulfill their role of Dharma, in Dharma. And as a result, we get to be cared for so that we can then fulfill our roles in society and take care of those around us so that they can then feel nurtured and allow themselves to receive, to fulfill their roles, to go be of service to someone else so that someone else can then be nurtured, right? It becomes the pay it forward effect. Instead of that one-on-one exchange, it's I do this so that I know that person can receive what they need to, and as a result, they can do that to fulfill the role for someone else. And it comes back around knowing that full circle, that service that you provided is going to come back around to you through maybe 20, 30 other people, right? This is how society operates. And so it can be so simple because, let me say this. It can be so easily overcomplicated when in reality it is so very simple, right? And the most important piece of all of this is the ability to step into our most authentic selves, stepping into that radical self-acceptance, understanding that no role is too big or too small and is just as important as every other role of every other person on this planet. Maybe your purpose can be taking that vacation on a whim and then you run into a friend from high school halfway across the world, right? Maybe your purpose is helping the stranger find directions on the street. And then maybe that, because that person isn't lost, they're able to give $1 to the street musician. And that street musician is now inspired to keep playing, and they bring a smile to someone who's stressed out. And because they got that, they were able to hear that music on the street, they feel better and are able to focus and go make the cupcakes for the bake sale. And maybe those cupcakes go to someone else who's really sick, and now they have a smile on their face, right? So can you see that your purpose doesn't even have to be something so big as, like, I have to go harvest this whole field of wheat. It can be as simple as, I'm going to be here in this moment and see a need that needs to be fulfilled, whether that is saying hello to a stranger on the street, giving directions to someone who needs help in that moment, giving $1 to the homeless person, right, so that they can eat, and then they feel nurtured and maybe will make their way back home, right? It's these small little acts that create these huge ripple effects the world over. But by stepping into radical self-acceptance and understanding that you are important in all your beautiful and flawed ways, every little thing that you do has an impact somewhere in the world. And having that feeling, when you wake up in the morning and you're feeling overwhelmed by, like, what am I doing and how did I get here? Just knowing that even you driving, getting, like, say for instance, it's so hard for you to get up and you just want to lay in bed that day, but really, and the one thing that's going to motivate you to get out of bed is knowing you can go to Starbucks and get a coffee and you get out of the house. And so now you are allowing someone to be of service to you. You're allowing that barista to make that coffee for you. And who knows what's going to happen as a result of you showing up that day. Right? That is fulfilling your purpose in life. Allowing yourself to it's not just being of service to others, it's allowing yourself to receive the services of others as well. That's so huge, right? It took me a long while to get there, and I hope that the layers of which I took to describe this allows you to really hear this, feel this, and allow it to resonate with you on a deep cellular level. You matter. Your place in life matters. Your purpose matters. You might not be Bill Gates or Elon Musk, but you are a person who provides value to everybody around you. And by you spending that money at the local coffee shop, or just bringing your child to school, or making cupcakes for your bake sale, or whatever it is that you do, no matter how small it might feel in that minute, it has its place in this order of life that allows us to distill the chaos into something meaningful and purposeful. Every little thing you do has a ripple effect. So you get to choose. Do you want to move forward with purpose and love in your heart, knowing that it's going to create a deeper ripple effect of allowing other people to be able to do the same? It's so impactful and allows us to kind of make peace with that which does not make sense, bringing order out of the chaos, Dharma, finding peace within, allowing yourself to receive from others so that you can then give to others, paying it forward, the cycle of Dharma. So I hope this conversation today finds you and helps you to heal something so that our society can continue to along this path of healing and evolving the state of humanity and deepening that ripple effect of healing in the world, because we can heal the world by healing ourselves first. Thank you so much for joining me today. And remember that when you step into that radical self-acceptance, you are healing yourself, and you pave the way for other people around you to do the same. If this resonated with you, please like this video and subscribe to my channel, and stay tuned for the next installment of Conversations with Christie. Namaste, friends.